All right, today we're diving into one of the most gut-wrenching, pivotal episodes in all of Demon Slayer. And this one isn't just about the end of a big fight. Oh no, it's about what happens after the sword falls, the impossible questions that come up, and how one single act of mercy can threaten to split the entire Demon Slayer core right down the middle.
This line right here, this is the heart of it all. In a world that is so black and white, kill or be killed, for Tanjiro to say this is, well, it's a bombshell. It's a radical act of empathy that completely challenges what it means to be a demon slayer. And believe me, it kicks off a complicated that's way, way more complicated than just sword against claw. So you'd think after this huge, exhausting battle, we'd get a moment of victory, right? A moment to breathe. Nope. Instead, the show does something incredible. It takes us inside the mind of the defeated demon, Rui, as he's dying. And what we find there isn't some power-hungry monster. It's something far, far more tragic. The very second Tanjiro's blade connects, we're plunged into Rui's memories. And you start to realize that everything he did, all the terror, the violence, that twisted, fake family he built, it was all just this desperate, mangled attempt to get back a real family bond that he had once and completely misunderstood. Okay, so let's just trace this tragic path for a second. He starts out as a sick kid who just wants to be strong. Muzan gives him that strength, but at a terrible price. In a moment of absolute fear and confusion, he kills his own loving parents. And from that point on, he spends the rest of his long life chasing a hollow imitation of the very thing he destroyed with his own hands. And this quote, my gosh, this is the absolute core of the tragedy. This is what his father said while holding a knife, ready to end Rui's life and then his own. Rui saw it as a betrayal, but it was the exact opposite. It was an act of ultimate, unconditional love. They were promising to go with him, to atone together, even if it meant going to hell. A promise Rui only understood when it was far too late. And that's it. That awful, gut-wrenching moment of realization is the real climax for Rui. He finally gets it. The one thing he craved more than anything else was something he had all along, and he was the one who severed that bond. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's devastating. On one side, you have the genuine sacrificial love of his parents. On the other, the brutal, fear-based prison he called a family. He finally sees that the authentic bond he was searching for was his from the very beginning, and he was the one who cut the thread. And these are his final thoughts. As he's fading into nothing, he sees his parents, waiting for him, ready to keep their promise and join him. His last moments aren't filled with rage or power, but with pure, crushing remorse. He's just a lost little boy again. So, just as Rui's tragic story finds a quiet end, the episode pivots hard. His internal struggle is over, but it immediately ignites a massive external conflict. Now we're talking about a battle for the very soul of the Demon Slayer core, and it's all about mercy for the monster. So this is the question just hanging heavy in the air. A monster who has killed so many people is finally gone. Do you just kick their ashes and move on, or do you take a second to acknowledge the suffering of the human they once were? Tanjiro and the core have very, very different answers. And of course, there's Tanjiro. He can literally smell the overwhelming sadness and regret coming from Rui. So what does he do? He chooses empathy. He gently holds Rui's disintegrating kimono, offering a moment of quiet respect. He isn't seeing a vanquished foe, he's seeing a lost soul. And then, bam! That beautiful moment of grace is completely shattered. The insect Hashira, Shinobu Kocho, arrives, and she represents the cold, hard logic of the core. A demon is a demon, period. There's no room for sympathy, there is only extermination. Now, to really get why this is such a huge deal, we need to be clear on who the Hashira are. These aren't just any slayers. They are the absolute elite, the best of the best. They are the generals of this war. So for two of them to openly clash on the battlefield, that's not just a disagreement. That's a sign that something is seriously wrong inside the organization. So yeah, this philosophical argument, it doesn't stay philosophical for long. It becomes a physical confrontation almost immediately. Because Giyu Tomioka, who's been quietly watching all this time, makes a move that is absolutely shocking. Just look at this. You have Giyu, a Hashira, physically putting himself between Nezuko and Shinobu, another Hashira. He is breaking the #1 most sacred rule of the core: never ever protect a demon. But he, like Tanjiro, clearly sees something more than just a monster. This is open rebellion at the highest level of command. You can feel the weight of Giyu's decision in this one command. He's yelling at Tanjiro to run, to push through the pain. He's actively helping a fugitive and his demon sister escape, putting his own life and rank completely on the line. He's betting everything on Tanjiro's will to survive.
But just as this insane, unprecedented showdown between two of the Corps' most powerful members is about to boil over, everything just stops. The conflict is frozen in its tracks by an even higher authority.
A Kasugai crow swoops down, squawking an order that comes directly from the leader of the entire Demon Slayer Corps. And just like that, the debate is over. The fight is off. This is no longer a dispute to be settled on the battlefield. It's being escalated to a formal trial. And with that order, the whole mood shifts from chaos to cold, hard procedure. The Kikuchi arrive. They're the cleanup crew, the ones who handle the logistics after a battle. And their arrival means this is now an official operation. Tanjiro and Nezuko aren't combatants anymore. They are prisoners of the Corps. And it all happens in a flash. The order comes down, the fighting stops, Tanjiro is bound, and the very next thing he knows, he wakes up on the ground, powerless, staring up at the faces of the most intimidating figures in the entire organization, the Hashira. The people he looks up to are now his judges. And that's where we're left hanging. It's a powerful, absolutely terrifying question. Tanjiro's radical act of empathy has put him, his sister, and his future on trial. Everything, Nezuko's life, his place as a slayer, maybe even the very soul of the Demon Slayer Corps, it all hangs in the balance. The real trial is only just beginning.